everybody. Welcome to the June 2024 Missouri Evergreen Cataloging meeting. We did not have a meeting in May. We had one in April. We did not have one in May. Our agenda today is not super long, but I'm glad you guys are here. First thing I wanted to talk about was we've had a change in committee members. Nancy Rowden, Darcy Humphrey, and Josh Lamb have all decided to rotate off. I can't thank them enough for serving on the committee. We are welcoming Braden Jones from Polk County. I was hoping that he was going to be on today so he could give a little introduction to everybody, but I think hopefully we're all familiar with him. So he will be part of the crew that answers any cat help emails that you may send. And we do have 2 more spots on the committee that we are filling. One of them will be filled with a municipal library consortium member. We do know who that's going to be, so they will be introduced in July most likely. And then we are still deciding on filling that last spot, who's going to be on the committee. Let me see. Don't forget that if you've missed meetings, you can watch them on our YouTube channel. It is linked in the agenda. And if you do watch those, please email that cat help email and let us know that you've watched it so that you can get credit for attending that meeting. So out of the regional training, Liz, whose idea was this? Was it Mary Ann's?
It was Mary Ann.
It was Mary Ann's idea. So at the Livingston regional training, she had mentioned something, since we all use the test server to do the certification. She was like, I wish that we could tell the difference between the test server and the live server, because a lot of us, we're doing our certification while we are also working. So we're probably going back and forth between the two. So the home screen and drop-down options on the test server are a different color now. You can see here that everything says test system, and then you can see that it's a gradient from green to blue now. So you can kind of tell the difference between the test server and the live server. So Mary Ann had an excellent idea. Thank you, Mary Ann. And Liz worked with Equinox and got that done pretty quickly. Okay, so WebDewey. We know that we were talking to Missouri State Library about OCLC for all, and that is not going to happen. WebDewey for all is also not going to happen, but WebDewey for committee members, for us to help you guys assigning call numbers, is happening. So the Missouri State Library is going to pay for 9 licenses for WebDewey for Missouri Evergreen. And so if anybody has any questions about assigning a Dewey number, you can email any of the committee members and we should be able to help you. Right now, continue to email Liz only, as she has WebDewey currently, and we're still working with Mosel for the licensing and everything for WebDewey. So Liz is the only one for sure. Ron has WebDewey too, and I have WebDewey as well, though I still have yet to really use it, so I don't know it very well yet. So your best bet is to just email Liz anyway. Liz, do you want to talk about the transferring stuff, documentation that you did?
Sure. Okay, so transferring items is confusing. We all know this. And it changes what you should choose based on whether you are like a single branch system or like a multi-branch system and have multiple items attached. So now in Odoo, okay, you're gonna have to click on that to open it for me because you have control. There we go. Okay, so now in Odoo, I added another document where it is transfer items and holdings. If you have multiple locations, it's step-by-step directions for that. I will also be making a video to go along with it and putting it up there. But right now it is just step-by-step directions. And if you guys, I know a lot of people have problems with this. Me too. It's confusing. So please look at the documentation and see if that is helpful. If it is still slightly confusing, please message me and I will try to get in the weeds again and sort it out more clearly, but it is very weedy.
I just want to mention these directions are awesome. I will say probably 7 times out of 10, the problem with these is this right here, having all 4 of these things check marked if you're a multi-branch system. If you have these things visible to yourself, then it's a little, it's a little more, you can kind of, it's user-friendly to be able to see what's going on if you have all of these in your multi-branch system. Okay. Regional trainings, go ahead. Oh.
Okay. So regional trainings, we had 65 total people attend. So that was up from about like 10 from last year, even though we actually only had 5 locations versus the 6 that we had last year. So we had more people and less locations. So that's awesome. I am going to be sending out the survey again for people who attended regional training to answer if they haven't answered yet, and just as questions about regional training and what, if it was what you expected, yada, yada, yada. So if you get that email and you've already taken the survey, you can ignore it. If you get the email and you haven't yet taken the survey, please take the survey because it helps us decide what we're going to do in the coming year and months as training goes. So cataloging certification, obviously we're in a quote unquote recertification year. And I just like to, shout out the numbers to you guys of who's doing what. So basically for recertification, we have 25 people that have completed the advanced recertification and 7 that have completed the basic recertification. And then we have several people that have completed just the regular certification using the new Odoo one. So 10 advanced and 6 basic for that one. So everybody is bebopping along. And as always, if you guys have questions about certification or recertification, you can email CAD help, but you can also email me directly because it'll just come to me anyway, because I'm the only one out there who has access to Odoo to help you. So yeah.
Anybody have any questions about certification or transferring holdings or anything that we've talked about so far? It looks like everybody's been doing it, but just in case you haven't, please put your name in chat if you have not already, just so we can take attendance and see who's here today. So Liz has a couple things that she is going to talk to us about today. We're going to start out with the 245 field and when to use the subfields N and P.
Okay, so this is, I get a question about this, if not once a week, at least every other week. And it's when to use N and P when you are doing things with like graphic novels, manga, comic books, etc. So we know that using N and P mostly happens when we use those things, correct? Correct. I'm going to share my screen, maybe. Now I just see Kate.
Yeah, I stopped sharing and made you host.
Okay. Let's see. All right. You all can see my, yep, okay. So for example, you don't always use N and P if you have something that is graphic. That's the confusing part, is you have to kind of still use cataloger's judgment. If we always just use N and P, it would be easier, but that's not how it works. So here's a couple examples. So the first example, let me open it up here. And you are seeing, correct, the staff catalog, the Goblet of Infinity, Cat and Cat? Yes, okay. So on this one, this is a graphic novel that you would just enter as you would a quote unquote normal book, where it has a 245 separate title and then a 490 series statement, okay? So basically this depends on if this graphic novel did not have an authorized series, you would probably use NNP. But because this one has an authorized series, it is treated more like a quote unquote regular book, okay? So instead of having the 245 appear as the 246s, right? Does that make sense? So when you're doing these, it really depends on the series, the title, everything. So you can't just be like, oh, it's graphic, it gets NNP instead of a 490. Because look at this example, let's open this one. This is a graphic novel series, but it doesn't have an authorized 490. So it does get an A and an N. It's confusing. How do we know this? It's cataloger's judgment in what feels right. We're never going to really yell at you guys if you're doing these incorrectly because they are that confusing. But please ask if you're doing them and don't know which way to do them. So here's an example of manga. Manga generally, they do use NNP. Why? Because they don't often have that authorized series statement. So this one has a here. So that's actually the name of like the whole series, whatever that's happening, and then a number, okay? And let's see, another example. But then we have this one, look at this one. This one has everything. It has the N and the P and the A. So why it doesn't have a series statement? Well, technically it does. This one's even more confusing because it has a publisher series statement because that's not the name of the actual series. So that's a series statement from the publisher. So just keep in mind that when doing graphic novels specifically, they may still end up under the title. That's really what this is all about. Because we're seeing a lot of graphic novels put in under their series name and not necessarily their title. And they're just all different depending on what they look like. I also have an example of a comic book. You would see, like, I think this was a Batman. No, Superman. It was a man. Again, this one, CNP. So I know this is really confusing, but it really all depends. Let's say you have a graphic novel, pick up a graphic novel. You want to make sure you're looking up the series. If the series is authorized, that's going to tell you for that graphic novel, it's probably going to go under the regular title and get a 490, 800. Whereas if you're doing something else graphic, it's probably not going to have that authorized series and you're going to have to use an N and a P. Does that make sense?
No.
Yes. I know, no and yes and possibly and I hate it. Yes, all of the above.
Yeah.
Graphic.
I wanted to mention that I think we've talked about before. Oh, open that back up, Liz. Go back to, yeah, either one of those that you have open.
Okay.
So when you have results, a result screen, we know that when you use the NNP, the display of it is crazy, crazy dumb. We hate it. But that is at least only on the staff side. On the OPAC, Liz, if you go up to staff view, I mean, not staff view, but patron view, it does show up correctly in the OPAC for the patron. So we can deal with it on the back end that it looks icky, icky, gross, but at least for the patron, it will look like it's supposed to. So as you can see, Superman number 5, comma, Doomsday. We don't get that nice view in the staff view. It doesn't give us all of the punctuation. So that's weird, but I was happy to realize that because it was one of, when you bring up a list and of Superman and there's a bajillion things, and they all look kind of different. This is when you kind of notice that. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about what's probably one of the most confusing things to catalog?
If you're one of the, and Liz had it in her examples, you can always have a 246 that does have the series and the subtitle essentially in it. So you can always have all of those things, as a cataloger. Sometimes it'll bug me if I don't have all of the things, but
a 246 is never wrong. It's like you could have 5 246s, and that's only going to help people. That it's going to look annoying to us because then the title stuff looks like it's this long, but it's never wrong to, if you like, should I add a 246? Just go ahead and add a 246. It's never wrong to include more of them.
okay.
We don't hear anybody.
I mean, we can say, are there any questions? But I mean, we all have lots of questions, but always.
As you're doing things, if you have a question, please email me, and then we'll talk about it in real time about what you have in hand. I could show you examples all day, and it won't matter until you actually are trying to catalog something. So,
Sarah asked about authorized series is in Library of Congress, and yes, so
yes.
There's a caveat to that. So Library of Congress itself has stopped tracing series, but they allow it to be crowdsourced from us, kind of like OCLC. So they're not like going out and seeking these series authorizations, but they are being done and they are allowing them to be in the Library of Congress authorized headings lists, even though they themselves did not do it. So that's a long answer to yes, if the series is authorized, it will be in the Library of Congress. I will say series is definitely one of the hardest things to search in the Library of Congress. Sometimes you'll want to do it by the author. Sometimes you want to do it by just the title of the series. Sometimes you'll want to do it by both. If you don't get results one way, you should try it a different way. And then also, you can always look up something, even if you're not an OCLC subscriber, you can go onto WorldCat, which is free, and you can see if all else fails and you can't see it in LC, but OCLC has it as authorized, then somehow it's in there somewhere because OCLC doesn't authorize things that aren't LC authorized. So I did just want to remind everybody that you can go to and use quote unquote OCLC and look at their MARC records without being a subscriber. You just can't export them and import them and work in OCLC and all of that stuff. So yeah. So do you have a preference on where to double check for the 490? Yeah, definitely. Library of Congress. I mean, that's the end all be all. And then
I mean, they mean the Angel website or the other website as we refer to them.
Oh yeah.
It depends. I mean, we could pull it up and look at it and see how it works.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. Let's look. Okay, let's just try looking under name authority and put in, because the one was called cat and cat. Let's put in that one.
Would it be title?
It should redirect. Oh. Let's try title. Cat and cat. Again, search. There we go. References. So series title. And then it redirects us to see yada yada because it's under this person's name. Let's see how the other one works. This one doesn't have the same kind of title search, so I would choose all and see what happens. Yeah, so for me, when I'm using this, I would use the Angel website, the red one, right? We call it an Angel, it's not. If I'm looking at the title specifically, if I'm looking at the person, I think either would work. It's, again, these two websites give you the same information, but it can be confusing depending on what you're looking up. Because I'm sure Cat and Cat is in here somewhere.
So on
But-
the faceted things on the left there, name, authority, subject heading, provider. Yeah, none of that's very helpful.
Yeah. No. Because it doesn't give us the a series search specifically on this one.
Yeah.
So I would say if like series, I would probably use both. I would probably try both, which is annoying to have one more tab open. But since they behave so differently with how you look things up, but at least if you're using the Angel-y website, the red one, you can look up under a name in title authority and name title is what series would be. You know, it ends up as Ye whatever Cat and Cat Adventures. Okay, do we have any more questions about how confusing that is and will haunt our dreams?
I think we look good.
Okay. The next thing I really not want to talk about is really a reminder. So when you are doing DVDs and Blu-rays, your 300 field is your description field. So I noted the crib sheets here. It didn't take me to my page, but this is just a reminder that in your 300 field, no matter if you are doing a Blu-ray or a DVD, they're called video discs, even if they're mixed. So if you have one of those combo packs that is a DVD and Blu-ray combo pack, it's going to say 2 video discs. I know that's weird, but the 300 there is not ever going to say Blu-ray or DVD specifically. It says that other places in the record. So if you're coming across those, when you see them, please correct them in the catalog, and going forward when you're original cataloging, just remember they're both considered a video disc.
So this came up, Liz, can you talk about a little bit because so the E field in the 300. So it could say 1 video disc and then the E says 1 plus 1 Blu-ray. That's not correct, right? We want 2 video discs in the 240 in the 300A. You don't want to, if there's more than 1 disc, it should say 2, 3, whatever video discs, not 1 video disc plus Blu-ray.
Yes. I know that's really confusing because it could be maybe not even the same thing. It could be, let's say, a Blu-ray of the movie, and then they have a separate DVD of like added content features, right? That would still, because the E field and how we're very exact on the language, it would still say 2 video discs in the 300. And then later in the record, like you see here, the 344s, 347s, that's where it would specify that 1 is a DVD, 1 is a Blu-ray. And then you should probably note that in your 505.
Are there questions about this? I know this is something that I have caught myself doing. Like I'll put 1 DVD and I'm like, nope, it's video disc. And also, since we're reminding people, disc it's a C, it's never a K. Unless you're talking about a floppy disk, which I don't think any of us are anymore. Okay, that's all that we have on the agenda to talk about today. Please repeat those fields for Blu-ray. Do you mean those, the 300 RDA fields, the 3XX?
Yes.
Okay,
So the 300 RDA fields, you're going to have, it'll say in the 344 and the 347 that there is a DVD and Blu-ray there. You can also note it. It will a lot of times be noted also in a 500 field. That's fine. See here it says Blu-ray and it tells it what it is. And then they're noted 100 other places. But that 300 will still always say just 2 video discs. It's generic. Just
and what Liz is working from right now are the crib sheets. These are
Mhm.
available to everybody. If you ever have a question about what 3XX fields should be for what format, she has 100 different ones. How many do you have, Liz?
a lot,
Okay,
just a lot.
just a lot.
There's
So if
over
you need to
100
catalog
pages,
it,
so
if you need to catalog it and you need an example, these crib sheets are on Odoo and the Missouri Evergreen website.
yes. Do we have any other questions, just for questions' sake? You guys can always ask questions in this and we can answer them, so.
Carolyn is just, she says, thanks for the descriptions, especially about transferring. I know transferring, I've been in Missouri Evergreen for however many years, and I have been talking about transferring since day one. It's just something that's confusing. Because there's transfer holding and transfer item. So it's just
Yes.
like,
And we often say item and holding and we mean like we use them interchangeably, but that's not true. It's not true that they're the same thing. So we then confuse ourselves.
okay, guys, if nobody has anything else, any more questions, our next meeting will be July 8th. Yeah, July 8th. Usual time, usual date. So we will see you next month if nobody has any more questions. Short and sweet meeting. Thank you, Liz, for all your explanations.